Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The kitchen light flickered as I heard my wife Angela's voice drift from the living room. She was on speaker with her friends, and they had no idea I was home early from my building inspection job. Honestly, girls, you're absolutely right about Cole. Angela laughed, that fake laugh she used when she wanted to impress people. He is a joke, walking around in those work boots talking about foundation problems like anyone cares. Maybe this weekend I'll finally find myself a real man. Her friends cackled like hyenas. Melissa's voice cut through. Girl, you deserve so much better than that blue-collar nobody. Trent's been asking about you again. Trent. Her high school ex-boyfriend who now owned a used car lot and still thought he was the star quarterback at 39. The same Trent whose business I'd failed 3 inspections last year for code violations. I stood frozen in my own kitchen, holding my tool bag, feeling like I'd been sucker punched. 15 years of marriage, and this is what I got? Being called a joke by women who couldn't change a light bulb without calling a handyman? You know what? Angela continued, her voice getting more animated. I think I will text him. Cole's working late anyway, probably crawling around some basement like the rat he is. That's when something inside me snapped. Not broke. Snapped, like a cable under too much tension. I set down my bag quietly and pulled out my phone. Time to show them what a real punchline looked like. I walked into the living room where Angela sat with her perfectly manicured nails, designer clothes spread across our secondhand couch, packing for her girls' weekend to the beach. Hey, honey, I said with my biggest smile. Don't mind me, just grabbing some water. She barely looked up, still giggling with her friends about what a loser she married. But I caught something else. Her phone screen showed a text thread with T-bone, with heart emojis, recent messages, very recent. My jaw clenched, but I kept smiling. In my line of work, you learn to spot structural problems before they bring the whole house down. This marriage had been rotting from the foundation for months, and I'd been too blind to see it. After she hung up and went to bed, I did what any good inspector does. I investigated. Her laptop was still open. Facebook messages with Trent going back 3 months, photos of them at lunch, plans for this weekend that had nothing to do with her girlfriends. Can't wait to show you what a real man feels like again, one of his messages read. Always knew Cole was a joke. There it was, that word again, joke. Well, every good joke needs a punchline. Angela left Friday morning with her suitcase full of lingerie she definitely hadn't worn for me in years. She kissed my cheek like Judas and said, "Try not to burn the house down while I'm gone, honey." "Wouldn't dream of it," I replied, already mentally packing. The moment her car disappeared, I called in sick to work and got started. 15 years of marriage means you accumulate a lot of stuff, but I was amazed how little of it actually mattered to me. Her designer clothes, her collection of wine glasses we never used, her precious scented candles that made the house smell like a funeral home, all of it went into boxes. My neighbor Darla watched from her window as I loaded everything into my pickup truck. She was 75 and had been married to the same man for 50 years. She'd seen enough drama to know when it was brewing. "Cole, honey, what's going on?" she asked, shuffling over in her house slippers. "Just some spring cleaning, Mrs. Patterson," I said, hefting another box. "Getting rid of things that don't belong here anymore." She nodded knowingly. "That woman never deserved you anyway. Always putting on airs, acting like she was too good for this neighborhood." By noon, I'd cleared out everything that belonged to Angela. Her makeup, her clothes, her books about finding your inner goddess, all of it stacked neatly in the driveway. Then I called a locksmith. "You sure about this, buddy?" Rick asked when I showed up at his boxing gym with my own suitcase. Rick had been my best friend since high school, back when I actually knew how to throw a punch. His gym was in the rough part of town, all concrete and sweat and honest work. "Never been more sure of anything," I said. dropping my bag in the small apartment above the gym that Rick rented out cheap. My wife thinks I'm a joke. Time to show her the punchline. Rick studied my face. What kind of punchline we talking about here? I smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. The kind that brings the house down. That afternoon, I drove to Angela's real estate office. Her boss, Janet Morrison, was a no-nonsense woman in her 60s who'd built her agency from nothing. She didn't tolerate drama or unprofessional behavior. "Cole, what brings you by?" Janet asked, looking up from her desk. "Just wanted to drop off some photos I thought you might find interesting," I said, placing printed screenshots of Angela's Facebook messages on her desk, especially the ones where she's discussing showing houses to her boyfriend while she's supposed to be working. Janet's face went stone cold as she read. Using company time and resources for personal affairs was grounds for immediate termination, and we both knew it. "I appreciate you bringing this to my attention," Janet said quietly. "I'll handle this appropriately." By evening, Angela's stuff was getting rained on in the driveway, the locks were changed, and I was settled into my new place above the gym. My phone had been buzzing all day with calls from Angela, but I wasn't ready to answer yet. Finally, around midnight, I texted her back. "Hope you and Trent are having fun. Your stuff's in the driveway. Locks are changed. You made your choice." My phone immediately rang. I let it go to voicemail, then played it back on speaker for Rick to hear. "Cole, what the hell is wrong with you?" Angela's voice shrieked through the phone. "You can't just throw my stuff out. That's my house too. Call me back right now, you psychotic asshole." Rick whistled low. "Sounds like a real charmer. What's your next move?" I cracked my knuckles and looked at the heavy bag hanging in the corner. Time to get back in fighting shape. This is just round one. Angela came back Sunday night to find her designer clothes soaked through and her neighbors watching from their windows like it was primetime television. Mrs. Patterson later told me she'd never seen someone have a meltdown quite like that, screaming at the locked door, pounding on windows, calling me every name in the book. But the real show started Monday morning. I was at work, inspecting a new restaurant downtown, when my phone buzzed with notifications. Angela had posted a long Facebook rant about what a psychotic, controlling husband I was, how I'd illegally locked her out of her own home, and how her friends had been right about me all along. The post had dozens of comments from her circle, all talking about what a terrible person I was. Melissa chimed in, "Always knew he was unstable. Angela, you're better off without that loser." Sierra, her work friend, added, "Girl, you can stay with me as long as you need. Real friends stick together." But then something beautiful happened. People who actually knew me started responding. My boss, Frank Morrison, Janet's husband, wrote, "Funny how she's crying about being locked out when she was cheating with that scumbag Trent Callahan. Some of us saw the photos." Mrs. Patterson posted, "That girl was cheating on Cole for months. I saw that Trent character picking her up when Cole was at work. Good for Cole for standing up for himself." Other neighbors joined in, coworkers who knew my character, people from the community who'd watched Angela treat me like dirt at social events for years. The tide was turning, but Angela wasn't done. She showed up at my work site Tuesday afternoon with Trent in tow, driving his flashy red Camaro with the custom plates that read T-Bone. "Cole!" she yelled across the construction site. "We need to talk." I walked over slowly, my hard hat tilted back, work gloves still on. The construction crew had stopped what they were doing to watch. Trent stepped out of the car, all 6 feet of him in his shiny tracksuit, gold chain catching the sunlight. "This him?" Trent asked Angela, looking me up and down like I was something he'd scrape off his shoe. "This is the guy you were afraid of?" "Trent Callahan," I said, extending my hand with a smile. "Good to finally meet you. How's business? Still failing those safety inspections?" His face darkened. "Those were bogus, and you know it." "Were they?" I pulled out my phone and started scrolling. "Because I've got photos of the electrical violations, the structural issues, the safety hazards. Want me to show them to everyone here?" Angela stepped between us. Cole, stop being ridiculous. We're adults here. We can work this out. Work what out exactly? I asked. The part where you called me a joke to your friends? The part where you've been cheating on me for months? Or the part where you thought I was too stupid to figure it out? I never… She started, but I cut her off. Maybe this weekend I'll find myself a real man, I quoted back to her. Ring a bell? Her face went white. Trent looked confused. What's he talking about, Ang? Nothing, she said quickly. He's just trying to… She was on speakerphone with her friends Thursday night, I told Trent. Talking about what a joke I am, how she was going to hook up with you this weekend. Guess she didn't mention she was married when she was texting you all those heart emojis. Now Trent's face was changing. You told me you were separated. We are now, Angela said desperately. Cole, please, can we just… No, I said firmly. We can't. You made your choice, Angela. You chose to disrespect me, humiliate me, and cheat on me. Now you get to live with the consequences. I turned to Trent. And you get to figure out what kind of woman you're really dealing with. Good luck with that. As I walked away, I heard them starting to argue. Angela's voice was getting shrill. Trent's was getting angry. The construction crew was trying not to laugh. My phone buzzed with a text from Rick. Heard through the grapevine that Trent's been bragging at Murphy's bar about stealing another man's wife. Thought you might want to know. I smiled and texted back. What time does he usually show up? Around 8. Want backup? Wouldn't miss it for the world. That evening I put on my best jeans and a clean shirt. Time for round 3. Murphy's bar was exactly the kind of place Trent would hold court. Dim lighting, cheap beer, and an audience of guys who peaked in high school. I walked in around 8:30 and found him right where I expected, surrounded by his usual crew of losers, telling his story. So this guy comes home, Trent was saying, gesturing with his beer bottle, and finds all her stuff gone, and he just loses it, starts crying like a little girl, begging her to come back. His audience laughed on cue. I walked up to the bar and ordered a beer, close enough to hear every word. But Angela, she's got class, you know. She tells him straight up, I'm with a real man now, someone who knows how to treat a woman right. More laughter. The bartender, Danny, had known me since high school. He slid my beer across with a questioning look. I just smiled and shook my head. Course, the guy's too much of a coward to do anything about it, Trent continued. These blue-collar types, they're all talk. No backbone when it comes to… Excuse me, I said, turning around on my bar stool. Are you talking about me? The laughter died. Trent's face went through several expressions before settling on fake confidence. Well, well, he said. Look what the cat dragged in. Just wanted to hear the story straight from the source, I said, standing up. But you're getting some of the details wrong. Oh, yeah? Like what? Like the part where Angela called you crying this afternoon because she lost her job, I said loudly enough for the whole bar to hear. Something about using company resources for personal affairs. Her boss wasn't too happy about those lunch dates on company time. Trent's smile faltered. You're lying. Am I? Why don't you call her and ask? I pulled out my phone and showed him Angela's last text. Lost my job because of you. This is all your fault. Don't contact me again. The bar had gone quiet. Trent's friends were starting to look uncomfortable. And then there's the part about her credit cards being maxed out, I continued. All those designer clothes and fancy dinners she couldn't actually afford. Guess who she expected to pay for all that? Shut up, Trent said, but his voice lacked conviction. Or we could talk about her little problem with prescription pills, I said. The ones she hides in her makeup bag. Did she mention that part when she was telling you what a catch she was? That last part was a bluff, but Trent's face told me I'd hit close to something. You son of a bitch, he snarled, stepping toward me. There it is, I said, setting down my beer. The real Trent Callahan. Not so charming when you're not talking behind someone's back, are you? He swung first, a wild haymaker that would have connected if I hadn't spent the last week getting back into fighting shape at Rick's gym. I ducked under it and came up with an uppercut that caught him right in the solar plexus. Trent doubled over, gasping. The bar erupted in shouts and the sound of chairs scraping back. "Fight! Fight!" someone yelled. But there wasn't much of a fight. Trent was all flash and no substance, just like everything else about him. When he straightened up and came at me again, I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him into a table. "Stay down, Trent," I said. "You've embarrassed yourself enough for one night." But he was too proud and too stupid to quit. He grabbed a beer bottle and came at me with it raised. That's when Danny the bartender intervened with a baseball bat. "Not in my bar, Trent. Take it outside or take it nowhere." The crowd was buzzing now, phones out, recording everything. Trent looked around at the faces staring at him, some amused, some disgusted, none impressed. "This isn't over," he said, pointing at me. "Yeah, it is," I replied. "It's been over since the moment you thought you could steal another man's wife and get away with it. Angela's your problem now, Trent. Good luck with that." I threw a 20 on the bar and walked out to a mixture of applause and nervous laughter. Outside, Rick was waiting by his truck. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Better than expected," I said. "Trent's got a glass jaw and Angela's got bigger problems than she knows." "What kind of problems?" I smiled. "The kind that happen when you build your whole life on lies and other people's money. The foundation's cracking, Rick. It's all going to come down soon." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Sierra, Angela's friend. We need to talk. Meet me at the Starbucks on Main Street tomorrow at noon. Come alone." I showed Rick the message. He whistled low. "Think it's a trap?" "Only one way to find out," I said. "But something tells me Angela's house of cards is about to collapse completely.